Hi, boys and girls. Semphis here. I'm going to go over my weight loss journey. So we're going to start from my CSGO days. So the beginning of CSGO when I was playing on Quantic, Area 51, Complexity, and then eventually Cloud9. So obviously everyone that's followed my career might have heard some things in interviews or on my stream or whatever, but I don't think I've ever like gone into detail of why I did things or how I did things. So I'd like to start by just kind of looking at some of the pictures of my physique kind of changing over the years and kind of talk about why and how I did things. So this was kind of like the earliest pictures that you got on here for me. This is when I was playing with Days and crew on Area 51 and Quantic eventually. So obviously you can see obviously I'm not like morbidly obese here, but I'm not in like the best shape. And I think, back then my logic was kind of like all I cared about was playing video games. I didn't care about having a girlfriend. I didn't care about getting laid. I didn't care about partying. All I wanted to do was play Counter-Strike 14 hours a day and watch Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, whatever show, like that's literally all I cared about. Eating pizza, McDonald's, chips, whatever it was. Like that was the only thing I cared. I legitimately was not jealous of anyone that had a hot girlfriend. I did not care. All I wanted to do was play games all day. And I think what I told myself at the time was like, oh, you're young. It's okay if you're a little bit overweight. You can lose the weight eventually and become healthy. Which is like, luckily for me, I did it. So in that sense, it's good. But I think realistically, that's a bad mindset to have. Like the more you're overweight, the harder it's going to be. The more and the longer you are overweight, the harder it's going to become to lose the weight. And instill good patterns early on is going to be more beneficial than just eating McDonald's and KFC and stuff all the time, right? So, it was a couple of years, especially like when I was starting to become more like, I don't want to say famous, but more like known in the scene, HLTV, Reddit, all that stuff. I started getting a little bit of hate, for how I looked, a little bit overweight, big beard, long hair, but little did you guys know I was a troll and I didn't give a shit. I legitimately did not care. I purposely grew a beard and long hair because my logic was literally, I don't care about having a girlfriend. If I do want a girlfriend, I don't want a girlfriend. That's my counterpart. So I'm just not even going to try. And that might seem kind of fucked up, but I mean, like, realistically, if you want like a fit chick that's like objectively good looking and you look like a slob, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's very unlikely, right? Especially in my case. I'm a degenerate nerd staying up till 7 a.m. watching Dota and Counter-Strike every night. So to me, I just wrote off the females and I focused on Counter-Strike. So, yeah, look at Sean just trying to be all fucking jacked here. What a fucking nerd, dude. Anyways, so as you can see here, I'm clearly getting fatter as the years go on. I got a bit more of a belly. I think luckily for me, I'm around 6'1", 6'2", so I have more room to kind of like hide my fat in my belly and my thighs, my butt, my man boobs. My man boobs was the only thing that really kind of annoyed me. I think if I just didn't have man boobs, I would have cared less, honestly. But like they just get kind of annoying. It looks bad in clothing. Taking your shirt off is kind of embarrassing. But at the end of the day, I wasn't really doing that that often, so it didn't really matter, right? So at this point in my life, I don't care about anything. I just want to play video games, want to compete in Counter-Strike. I want to be the best. I don't care about my health. I don't care about eating healthy. I'm eating like, I always say, like, I was surprised I wasn't more fat or bigger because I would literally, this was my life, okay? So I'd like wake up and I would have like a tortilla, like two of those big tortillas. I'd grate a bunch of cheese because we always had cheese in my house for some reason growing up. And I would fry that shit in like canola oil with cheese, pre-fried beans, and sometimes like sausage or whatever meat we have I'd put in there. I'd fry both sides, and then I would put sour cream and salsa on it and just eat it. That was like my breakfast. Like, so we're talking like probably over 1,000 calories, just bam right there. Then I wouldn't eat for a long time. I'd play my practice, blah, blah, blah. And then I would go to Shoppers, which is kind of like a Walgreens or in Europe, maybe like a, not an Aldi's, but like, I don't know how to explain it in European terms. Maybe like a Tesco Express or something. Anyways, I would go to like one of these stores where it's like got a lot of like packaged food that it gets sold really cheap, like chips, by like 3 bags for $10 or whatever stuff deals like that. So I'd always buy like a 2-liter Coke. I'd always get like a family sized bag of chips, and then I would go to the freezer aisle and just buy whatever's on sale. So like pizza, pizza pops, those like toaster strudel things, those I don't know what they're called, like those bistro meals. They're just like little like hot pockets filled with like cheese and ham and random stuff. They're not pizza pops, anyways. They're kind of like that, right? So I'd eat like that, and I would eat like all of it. Like I would eat a whole pizza, a whole bag of chips, and like half a 2-liter Coke, and I would have like M&Ms or like Reese's Pieces family size along with it. So I'd eat all of that. When I had more money, once I started winning more money and making a little bit more money, probably around this point when I was on Complexity is probably when I got to like my biggest. I was going to Subway, and I would literally get two foot-long steak and cheese subs, double meat, with 4 cookies, and I would not get a drink or chips with it because I was being healthy, right? No, because the chips and the pop they gave you at Subway was too small. So what I would do is I get the cookies and the subs, and then I would go walk to the gas station because I didn't drive. Still don't drive. And I would buy a family-sized bag of chips and a 2-liter Coke. Okay? So that's how I would do that. And then I would go home, and I would eat like both the subs, all the cookies, and like half, whatever amount of chips I could like fit in my stomach before I felt like I was going to die. And then I would pass out and go to bed. So that was healthy. Another thing I would do is I would order, there's a pizza place by me called Jay's Pizza. It's 2 for 1. So whatever pizza you buy, the other one's free. So it'd be like $15, and you get like a large pepperoni, whatever, and you get a second one. I would literally eat both pizzas within like, I would say 2 hours. Usually, I would just eat nonstop. Sometimes I'd even get breadsticks to go with it, and a 2-liter Coke naturally. So, and I would dip all of the pieces into ranch. I would always have a lot of ranch, and I would dip every bite into ranch. So, as you can see, like I was not doing myself any favors, and I honestly feel like I don't understand how it wasn't bigger. Like just looking back at like understanding calories now, which is not something I didn't really understand calories back then. Like obviously a Snickers bar is bad for you, an apple's better for you, right? But I'm just saying like I didn't really conceive that like a whole pizza, like a large pizza is like probably more than my daily calorie intake should have been at the time, right? So I didn't understand that. Nor did I care. So that was kind of my life. Like I would eat a lot of processed food. I would get Wendy's, A&W, that kind of stuff. Just whatever I felt like. And then basically over time, I remember my first kind of like, I want to say wake up call, if you want to call it that, was I was casting a game with Thorin. I believe it was a 1.6 game. And I remember going downstairs, getting something from the fridge, and coming back upstairs and being really winded. And I feel like I couldn't catch my breath for like a really long time. And I'm on stream being watched, so I was like kind of like, I don't want them to think I'm like super fat and like out of breath from like barely leaving my PC, right? So we were trying to hide it, but it's making it worse. So after that, I kind of felt like, okay, I got to make a change. So I tried to eat healthier, but like I didn't really know what I was doing, right? So like you think like, okay, I'll have like a salad and an orange, and there's no meat, there's no protein. You're just like, you literally don't know what you're doing. This is back in the time when there wasn't like all these YouTube channels. There wasn't a lot of information that was readily available. Not that you couldn't find it if you look, because eventually I did figure it out. But I'm just saying, like at the time, it wasn't as easy. Now you go to YouTube, there's like 4 billion channels showing you how to make healthy, kind of like more macro-friendly meals. But that didn't really exist for me at the time, right? So I was just doing this whole like freestyle. So that eventually failed, right? Like you skip breakfast, you eat like a salad and an orange for lunch, and then like maybe I'd have whatever my mom made for dinner, and then over time, eventually you just kind of like relapse and start getting Subway again, because like it's not sustainable, right? Like you're too hungry, you're not doing things correctly, you're not eating the right amount of foods, and I wasn't really exercising at the time either. So that failed, and I might have done that like 2 or 3 times where I just like decided, okay, I gotta lose some weight, and I kind of just did like my own makeshift kind of like BS diet that like didn't really make sense. And then eventually it became to like around 2012, the end of 2012, I believe, which would have been more probably right around this time is when I finally decided, like, you know what? I don't want to die early. I want to be healthier. I would like to get a girlfriend. And those were kind of like my two priorities, right? Like, get healthier, don't die early, and get a girlfriend. So I wasn't like, and I'm being honest here, like, I wasn't like, I didn't care really about like getting laid. It was more like I wanted to have a girlfriend that I liked and obviously have sex with her, right? But I wanted it to be someone that I found attractive and that I wanted to be with. So I wanted to put in the work to do that, which is why I got this meme right here, which I always find funny because I feel like a lot of people are like this. They see a picture and they're like, no, that's so unrealistic, and they get really mad. And then, you know, you got, and this can go for guys and girls. I mean, it's a meme about, you know, guys versus girls, but I feel like this goes for both genders. And then, you know, someone sees a picture and they go, damn, gotta hit the gym. This is more like my mentality. Like, I feel like I'm not really one to make, like, a lot of excuses. Like, for example, I have long arms. It makes benching harder. I don't go around being like, my bench is so bad because I have long arms and it makes it hard. Like, yeah, sure, realistically, it's harder because I have long arms. But I still try really hard. And I'm not sitting there being like, oh, I could bench more than you if I had short arms. You know, like, I don't like to make excuses. Like, if I can't bench as much as you, that's because I'm weaker than you. You know, like, I want to be the best that I can be, and I'm going to put the work in to do that. I've always been really good at kind of like having a goal and like committing to that goal, whether that's realistic or not, you know. Sometimes it can be a little delusional, but I do think it's like a pro and a con that I have. It's like I'm very tunnel vision, and I will ruin everything else in my life to achieve my goal. So it has its pluses, but it also has cons, right? So for me, the con would be obviously when I really liked food, I would just eat all the great food and not care. So then I got fatter. So, you know, like I said, it's got its pros, it's got its cons. But when I did decide to lose weight, then it came in to also kind of help me in that aspect as well. So this is probably, I'm not sure if this is the biggest I was. Yeah, probably around here is probably like some of the biggest I was. Yeah. So this is, you know, obviously me with like, you know, Sean, Dazed, Hiko, TCK's back there. Here's probably me, maybe peak weight. Maybe I got a little bit bigger. I don't know my exact weight because I went to the doctor and I got weight around 260s, like low 260s. But I know that I got fatter after that because I ate more food, I had more money, and I went way harder on like getting A&W like every day and stuff like that because, you know, they set those little coupons out. You get like 2 burgers for $5. I mean, we all know I'm abusing that. So I definitely got bigger from this point, but obviously these are the only pictures I had. I wasn't really I didn't really care about like taking selfies about how fat I was at the time, right? So as you can see, like I was just kind of like a big guy, but like big everywhere, right? Like I had my big man boobs, my big belly, my love handles. These love handles were a bitch to get off. I'm not going to lie, man. They were hard. I got rid of all the fat besides these bad boys for a while before they went. So sometimes if you're dieting, some parts of your body are going to be much more stubborn than other parts. But again, I was just like really unhappy with how I felt. I didn't like the fact that people treated me worse. Like, when I say that I didn't like these things, I wasn't one of those people that would go and, like, not be able to sleep because of it. I wouldn't, like, beat myself up about it. I just objectively didn't like it. For example, like, right now, I want my arms to be bigger. I think I have small arms. Some of you might see me and be like, oh, your arms are massive, right? I know that they're big compared to the average, but I'm comparing myself to like pro bodybuilders. But while I'm being realistic with myself, that I don't have arms as big as, you know, like a pro bodybuilder, I'm not sitting there like tearing myself down because of it. I'm just being like, objectively, I have arms that aren't up to the size I want. I need to improve them, and I'm being honest with myself, and I'm being critical, but I'm not like letting it affect me mentally in a negative way. Whereas I feel like a lot of people that get abused for how they look, or you have trans people, fat people, gay people, ugly people that just get ragged on, right, online. It's just typical. People are pieces of shit, right? For me, I was always a troll. I always knew that like a lot of what people say online is not serious. They're trying to get a reaction, so that's kind of like what I do. I'm like, oh, they probably don't mean it, or they're probably fat themselves. Someone's like, a lot of people like to deflect, and push their insecurities on you, right? It's like, oh, your girlfriend's ugly. It's like, yeah, dude, I'm sure you're sitting there with your 6-pack abs and your 10 out of 10 girlfriend trolling on Twitter. Like, probably not. People that actually have good lives aren't there trolling, right? I shouldn't say that, but for the majority, right? So, anyways, so then at this point, it was when I fully decided to kind of commit. So what I did was I did some research online. I think I went to like some bodybuilding sites, some YouTube videos, and I just kind of like figured out, okay, I'm going to eat this much protein, this much carbs, this much fat. And I kind of found a macro split, which was like, set your fat at this amount, set your protein at this amount. So like protein was like 1 gram per pound of body weight. So, let's say like 200 grams a day. And then my fats were like, let's say 60. And then the rest was carbs. So I would just have those two variables kind of stuck. And then I would do my carbs. I still kind of do that to this day, to be honest. So for me, it worked. I'm not saying that's the perfect way. There's a bunch of different ways to diet. I always say, like, whatever you can stick to is the best diet. Like, unless you're trying to be an elite athlete or you're trying to become like a pro bodybuilder or something, it doesn't matter if you do keto. It doesn't matter if you do carnivore, carb cycling, just a normal diet that's kind of like, encompassing all the macros evenly. They all work. So whatever one you can stick to is going to be the best diet, because longevity is what you want in this game. You don't want to diet for 2 months and then go back to your old diet. You want to stick to something that you're going to eat forever. And I think that's something that people forget. It's not like you eat pizza, burgers, and Subway every day. You diet for 3 months and then you go back to eating that. No, you have to commit to that new lifestyle forever. That doesn't mean that you have to eat such little calories and that you can't make things fun, because you can. But at some point, you had a lot of fun putting the weight on. You're going to have to suffer a little bit to get it off. And I think some people are not good at that suffering element, and they need that like dopamine. They need that feel-good feeling. And I think I'm one of those people that I'm really good at punishing myself. I'm really good at like beating myself up. Like if a girlfriend breaks up with me, or something happens, all it does to me is push me harder in whatever reason that I'm mad about. So like if a girl broke up with me and I'm like, man, I was like not good looking enough, I'm gonna try way harder to be like, do more cardio, eat healthier, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that, I'm just saying like I'll push myself really hard in that direction. Just like if I get cut from a CS team, I'm gonna just grind even harder to try to like prove them wrong, right? It's so that's kind of like how I operate. And I know not everyone's like that. Some people, in a relationship they get broken up with, they might binge eat ice cream every night, and put on 30 pounds in a month. Right? I've known guys like that at my gym, and I'm not saying that there's a right or wrong way. I mean, I'm sure the way that I handle it is not healthy, but I'm just saying, like, just being honest with myself, like, that is definitely how I do things. I definitely tunnel vision and pour everything into whatever outlet that I have. So it's one of the reasons I get good at Counter-Strike too, right? So at this point, like I said, so I set up the diet. So I was eating pretty low carbs. I think it was like 150 carbs. Like I said, like 60 grams of fat, baby. And like, it was probably around like 2,400 calories if you want a calorie amount. Like this is a long time ago. This is over 10 years ago. So it's hard to remember exactly how I started. But I switched to all healthy food. Brown rice, which you don't have to do brown rice. You can do white rice. I switched to oatmeal, eggs, salmon, chicken, broccoli, like just the typical bodybuilding healthy foods. Didn't salt anything. It was miserable. I felt so bad. For the first month and a half, 2 months, I felt worse than just eating the shitty food. Like, it took a lot of willpower to push through that, because I remember I felt physically gross, like bad feeling. Because, like, I think the they have some studies kind of supporting this, is like your gut bacteria is kind of linked to what you eat. So if you eat a lot of highly processed, sugary foods, your gut bacteria is kind of like primed to feast on that. Then you take that all away, that gut bacteria is like going to make you kind of feel gross, signal to your brain, go eat that shit that we like. Go eat that shit that you like. Like, there's more linked than we think. And they're figuring out more and more every year, so it's really interesting. But I do believe that, just from knowing people and knowing myself, is like, I do think once you get in a rhythm of eating the healthier foods, you start feeling better and they start tasting better. So like something I never liked, almond butter. I used to hate almond butter. I love almond butter now. Oatmeal, I can put oatmeal, plain oatmeal, almond butter, cinnamon. It's fine. Tastes good with some blueberries. Fine. I could eat that, no problem. Fat Semphis could never have ate that. Like he could have forced it into his mouth, but he would never have enjoyed it. Whereas like now I can actually enjoy that. So if you're one of these people that you struggle, just know that like eventually it does get better. It just takes a while to retrain your palate, retrain your gut, and all those things, right? Like it takes time. And like I say, it's like, it's not supposed to be easy. And I think that's what gets a lot of people. You have to suffer for a little bit. I think there was a study that showed only 1% of the people that lose weight keep it off. So think about that. You have a 99% chance to fail. That doesn't mean you shouldn't try, though, because obviously I was the 1%. Who would have thought, right? So anyways, so that was my diet. I had my diet set, and basically I didn't know what I was doing, right? So I didn't want to go to a gym because like a lot of you guys have said in my stream before, is when I would go to the gym, I was very intimidated about going to the gym. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know, do I do 1 set, 8 sets? What do? I don't know how to squat. I don't know how to bench. Right? It's very like intimidating. I never did any of this stuff. So to me, I was like, you know what? After practice, which ended at like 11 p.m. at that time, that was back in the, the old days before the schedules got switched, I would just go run. So what I would do is, I probably weighed maybe like around, I estimate 270 to 290 is what I weighed, somewhere in that range. I'm not entirely sure, which is funny because I weigh 290 right now. Just looks a little different. But my main thing was I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew cardio is good for you. So what I would do is I would go outside and I would jog for as long as I could. When I was out of breath, I would walk until I regained my breath, and I would jog again for 30 minutes. I would do that every day. So, at the start, it was like every other day, and then I progressed to doing it 6 days a week, and I always took 1 day off because I figured if God gets a rest day, so do I. No, but people always say you should rest, so I figured, take Sunday off. I would do like a cheat meal on Sunday, watch Game of Thrones, that kind of stuff. So eventually, what I would do is I would run or jog for as long as I could. Then I would walk. Then I would repeat that until eventually I built up to being able to run the full 30 minutes nonstop. And then I increased it to 45, and then I increased it to 60. So I basically just had a route I'd run outside around my neighborhood. There's a little park with like a lake and stuff. So it's actually kind of like nice. Like in my opinion, cardio outside is more fun than inside. So. And just so you guys know, at the start, I'm literally jogging for like literally 10 to 15 seconds. Not joking, like barely could jog at all. Like I would run out of breath so fast and I'd be panting. So, but I just was like, fuck it, dude. We're just going to do it. So I just did that. Obviously I had some success losing weight. So that's probably around this time that I started doing that. And then when I would get home, I would do some push-ups, some sit-ups, some crunches, just kind of like I didn't know what I was doing, So I would do like 2 or 3 sets of like push-ups to failure, do some sit-ups, do some crunches, and I would just like call it. Like I said, I didn't know what I was doing, so I was just doing shit that I thought was good. So at this point, this was the first event that I went to where I had lost some weight. So maybe you guys can't tell so much, but I definitely have lost like a bit of my belly fat, my man boobs, that kind of stuff. My face is like leaned out a little bit. Obviously, I cut the beard off. My hair. So like this is me when I have probably lost maybe like 20, 30 pounds. Then there was a break. So from here until the next event, there's a couple months. So basically I went from like people seeing me like this. So basically people thought of me like this, these 2 pictures. And then I showed up to a land looking like this. And I remember to this day that I showed up to the ESA LAN and Kate Edge, if you guys remember her, she was in the lobby of the DoubleTree, and she was like, "Oh, hi, you're Cloud9's manager." And I had seen her a million times, and I was like, "No, I'm Semphis." And she's like, "Holy, like what?" So like that's like how drastic of a change was, right? Like obviously, I got a haircut, I did my beard, but you know what I mean? Like so obviously, like a lot changed, got better fitted clothing and stuff like that. But this is my biggest thing where now everyone on Reddit and HLTV is like blowing up. Oh my God, did you guys see Semphis? Which felt good. Like honestly, it did. It's nice to like feel people are like finally like not talking shit about you being fat and they're like supporting you, which is cool, which is, it is what it is, but that's just life, I guess. And then on Cloud9, so this was complexity when I lost my original weight, then we signed with Cloud9, and yeah, this was probably my skinniest, was probably this event, one of these events right here. So I just want to show you guys something. So at this point, look how skinny I am, right? I'm wearing a small shirt here. Jordan's wearing a medium. I'm wearing a small. So you see me, I'm like I'm a rail, right? I'm a rail. And where's the picture? I still remember thinking that I was a little bit chubby here because I didn't have abs. I thought if I dieted hard enough, I'd eventually have abs, and I had no abs. I had a little bit of belly fat from being overweight, plus my skin's not really super tight down there. It's tightened up now over the years, thankfully, but it's not perfect, obviously. You have some downsides there. But I still remember being, like, self-conscious because it was weird because when I was fat, I didn't give a shit. I didn't care if my belly was big. I didn't care if my beard and stuff, but I think when I lost weight and I started getting compliments and I started feeling like I look better, I'm doing my hair, getting styled by like, dudes in Orange County giving me lemonade while my hair gets cut and stuff. Like, I just felt like I was being judged more and I felt more obligated to be like perfect, I guess. Like, I don't even know why, but I started becoming more self-conscious about like how I looked. And being like skinny. And then at a certain point, I realized, okay, like this is about as skinny as I'm going to get. Like I can't really become, like at this point I'm like starving myself to death. My energy was really low. I was drinking like a ton of coffee every day. And a lot of people accuse me of doing Adderall to lose weight. I never did any Adderall, okay? I drank coffee black. I dieted on a no calories and I ran a lot. That was a secret, okay? Now, currently, I don't only drink coffee. I take other supplements that you can't buy at the local supplement shop. But in terms of this weight loss, I 100% took nothing. So I just want to make that very clear that I was completely just as natural as you could really get, honestly, here. So yeah, anyways, so at this point, I think it was somewhere around, it was probably around this time where I had kept dieting and my calories were getting so low. I was at like 1,500 to 1,800 calories. I'm 6'1", 6'2". I weighed 165 pounds. I was skinny as fuck. I was basically a rail. I had no muscle. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, I can't diet. Like, even if I lose this last tiny bit of fat, I'm not going to be happier. I'm not going to look any better. And I felt like I was very, like, not really masculine, I guess. And this is what I personally thought. Not saying it's like a right or wrong thing to think, but I felt like I was kind of weak. And I wanted to kind of like tone up a bit at the time. Like, I didn't want to be this, like I didn't want to be this fucking massive bodybuilder. That was never the goal. What I did is I messaged Valen's brother, M4 Carbine, who is a huge gym rat, and he gave me kind of like a workout plan, and I basically just ran that. It was like an upper-lower split, off, upper-lower, off, off. So like 4 days a week in the gym, and I hated it. I hated the gym. I remember going to the gym, have my phone out, and I would like play the YouTube videos of how to do an exercise and try to figure it out. And I went and I would I would gym 4 days a week, run 6 days a week, and eventually I progressed to like a push-pull leg split. So I'd be at the gym 6 days a week, running an hour every day, and eating 1,800 calories. So just to put that in perspective, I was just gaining no muscle. I was like, this is so dumb. What am I doing? This is so pointless, which is when I started realizing you need to eat food. Food is, it doesn't matter how much drugs you take, how much tren you take. If you don't eat food, you cannot synthesize muscle. You can't conjure calories out of nothing, out of thin air, right? So I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. They think like, oh, I need the supplement. Oh, I need it. No, if you train right and you eat right, you will get bigger. Maybe you won't get, Ronnie Coleman, Phil Heath, C-bum level. Of course, you need drugs for that. But I'm just saying, like, I think people limit themselves a lot on what they can do if their diet is perfect. Because I would say, like, I'd rather your diet be perfect and your training be like 80% rather than your training be 100% and your diet being like 80%. Just personally, like, I really think you can get away. Your diet matters so much, and that's the hardest part, right? And that's why a lot of people don't do it. So at this point, I decided to eat more, and then I realized that powerlifting started trending a bit more. So like YouTube, there was more powerlifters on there. There's more powerlifters. There's more, like, there was Dan Green. There was, I can't remember all of them. Pete Rubish. There's a couple guys that I would follow, and I was like, man, this is so cool. Deadlift like 900 pounds, squat like 800 pounds. This is so awesome. And some of them were pretty lean and jacked too. So that's what I want to do. So started powerlifting, squatting. So I go to the gym like 3 or 4 times a week, squat, bench, deadlift, that kind of stuff. And I started really enjoying it because I felt like before I was just doing like, 3 or 4 sets of like 10 reps, going through the motions, didn't really like vibe with me. So when I started doing more of the powerlifting, like, 5x5, pushing the weight, I felt like way more motivated. Like, okay, this week I squatted 100 pounds. Next week I'm gonna squat 110 pounds. And it was like always like it's like a goal. Like I have like a metric that I'm going for, and that really motivated me. And I found it really fun. It felt like I was competing against myself, and that really got me into the gym. That was the first thing where I actually started loving the gym and doing all of the work in there. So that kind of like, that was basically when I started like my powerlifting kind of like eating more journey. So then you can kind of see like I start getting a bit bigger. Like, you go from rail skinny to, like I'm not fucking huge here, but I mean, I'm definitely bigger, right? Like I definitely have more mass, got a little bit, bloat and a little bit chub, but it's not, I'm not fat, but you know what I mean? Like I'm not rail like I was before. So I kept kind of bulking and cutting and stuff, but that was essentially my weight loss journey and kind of like what I did and how I felt going through it, because I don't think a lot of people realize that like the mental aspect that maybe goes into it, because everyone feels like, oh, you watch this guy on social media or YouTube and he's got a perfect life and he's jacked or he's happy or he's skinny, whatever, not knowing that like maybe they don't feel like that way. Like at this point, maybe people thought that I was super happy, but I wasn't. Like I was happy that I could to be honest, I was happy that I could get a girl if I wanted to. I could get more Tinder matches, stuff like that. But so that was good, but I didn't really have a ton of confidence. I think I was still like a fat guy in a more fit body. I still had the mentality of being like more like that, and I think it took a while to change that and realize that like like I always say, like girls don't really care if you have 24-inch arms and veins on your abs. Like they really don't. Like they want you to be in shape, like fit. They don't want you to be sloppy, right? Like if you have a little bit of a belly, like a little tiny bit, like they don't care. You know what I mean? Like you think a girl's gonna like not go for daps because he's got a tiny bit of a belly right here? Like this is nothing, by the way. I'm just saying, like, no, they're gonna look at your face, your hair, and your clothes, and as long as you're acceptable, most of them will be fine, unless they're gym rats themselves. Like, sure, some girls are gonna go for the jack dude, but I'm just saying on average, I don't think that's the the moneymaker. Like, I always tell people, if you don't believe me, go to the mall, go to the airport, and just look at all the hot girls and who they're with, the guys, their boyfriends. They're not all jacked fucking demigods that are sitting there with like chiseled jaws and blue eyes. You know what I mean? Like, so I think people put so much pressure on themselves to be like perfect when like realistically you don't have to be. It's just like, think about you, like, do you only want to date a girl or a guy that's like a 10? No, probably not. Like, if your girl's a tiny bit thicker, do you care? No, I don't. If my girlfriend gains a little bit of weight, I don't give a fuck. I'm not like, oh, baby, I'll lose some weight. Like, to me, it barely changes anything. So I think you got to like kind of apply that to yourself, because it can be hard mentally to get out of that. So obviously, I'm going to go over my progress eating more and a couple of that in my part 2 of the video, but I figured I'd kind of go over some of my thoughts, dieting and stuff like that. And I guess before I go, I'll also say, like, I was very regimented with my food. When I would go to events, I wasn't like I am now, where I had everything pre-made and meal prepped and brought a scale with me everywhere. Like, I wasn't like that, but I would definitely like make good choices. So like, what I always tell people is, like, you don't have to eat everything on your plate, right? So like, let's say I'm at an event and my whole team wants McDonald's, and I'm like, I'm trying to be healthy. I would go to McDonald's with them, but what I would do is I'd get like a grilled chicken burger with no mayo, a Diet Coke, and maybe have like the little kid apple pack or something, and I would get that, or a salad. Or maybe I would just get a chicken salad or something. I'm just saying, like, I would make choices, and then depending on how much I'm eating, like, I might get 2 chicken burgers, 2 grilled chicken burgers with no mayo, and I might take one of the patties, put it on the other one, and throw the buns away. So I've got like 2 patties, 1 bun, because a bun's like 30 carbs-ish, and I would eat like that. So I'd always try to make like good choices. Like, if I went to a restaurant, let's say we went to a steakhouse, I might get like the leanest cut steak or grilled chicken breast, and I'd ask for like just plain rice on the side with some broccoli, and like usually I accommodate it. And I wasn't as OCD as I am now. Like, now I'm fucking perfect, dude. Like, you can't screw my diet up on me. It's like impossible. I'm just way too prepared, and I've done this for so long, right? So over time, I kind of like build that system up. Like, for example, let's say my flight got delayed and all the restaurants in the airport are closed. I just go to like one of the little shops, get beef jerky, get a pack of almonds, and then maybe get like one of those like oatmeal Bob the Builder bars, whatever they're called. I forget the name of them, and then you got like 40, 50 carbs, you got your beef jerky for your protein, and then you got your almonds for your fat. Bam, good, we're good. And I would just kind of mix and match, and I was very dedicated to my diet, and I'd always do cardio at the events. I'd always wake up, and before breakfast, I would always do 45 minutes on the treadmill, running at the time, before every match, every game. Like, before these games, I always did my cardio. Sometimes I'd see like Apex in there, some other players. So I was very dedicated. So it was not like, obviously it works, right? But I would say, like, if I had to do it over again, I would have done things a lot differently. I would have salted my food. Salt is not the devil. Trust me, you're fine. If you're active and healthy, your kidneys can filter 30,000 milligrams of salt a day. So you're fine. You're fine to salt your food. If you're eating out a lot and you're eating a lot of packaged food, sure, you might not salt your food. But if you're making plain rice in the rice cooker, if you're making plain chicken breast and broccoli, you need to add some salt to your meal. Like, you're basically having 0 sodium with that, and you need sodium. And for the people that are like, oh, when I have sodium I get bloated, just remember, keep your sodium consistent for 1 to 2 weeks, and eventually your body will flush that water out, because the only reason you're getting bloated is because your body's used to your sodium being here, and now it's here. So your body's like, oh shit, we got sodium. Hold. So when it sees that, it's thinking like, oh, let's hold it all in. Let's hold all the electrolytes. Let's hold the water, because we're not sure when we're going to get salt again. Once your body gets trained to always have salt, it's not going to do the hold anymore. Similarly to how if you drink a ton of water for a week, say for a week before a bodybuilding show, this is what we do. You drink a ton of water, like 4 to 8 liters of water, like 8 liters of water a day. Boom, boom, we pound all the water. Then after a week, you just cut the water to none. Your body's just assuming that you're getting 8 liters, so it just continues to use that water like it normally does, but there's no water coming in, so you basically pee it, expel it all out through your skin and stuff, sweat, and then you become super dehydrated, which looks good, but is not very healthy. So those are just a couple things that I wanted to add there at the end. And obviously, like, shout out to my teammates for, putting up with me at that time. Because I will say, like, the biggest negative to doing this, and one of the things I would do differently is I would not have continued dieting as hard at events and before events. My goal as a competitor was not to be a model. So I shouldn't have cared so much about being skinny, and I should have put it on pause for a week or two here or then just to get my energy up, just to feel better, get better rest, because when you're dieting and you're doing a ton of cardio and working out and not eating a lot of calories, your sleep can suffer, your energy levels can suffer. So I do think that was a negative that I did. I honestly think it's awesome that I lost the weight, but I do think it hurt my Counter-Strike abilities in a way. Like, I do think it increased my reaction time. I think my reaction time is faster now than it was when I was fatter. But I think, like, just being able to play 10 hours and not really be tired and just kind of being happy that you're eating whatever you want. You're not sore from running or doing weights. Like, I do think that plays a bit into it. As you see, you don't see many Jack players. Like, you have Blame F, I guess, but even then, he's not really like he's not really like actively trying to get bigger, right? Like, he's kind of just maintaining. So, yeah. Anyways, that's kind of like some of my what I did to kind of lose my weight, some of my philosophy behind it, and yeah, now I'm a 290-pound bodybuilder. I have a girlfriend. I got a dog and a cat. So I guess it all worked out in the end. Besides the fact that I'm kind of blind in this left eye now. Anyways, see you for part 2 if you're interested, if you made it this far. If not, well, guess what? I got a podcast coming, and it's coming soon.